Hello, my name is Audrey Jackson, and tonight I will be going over my presentation over the gait development between the lifespan from early childhood all the way to older adult. So to begin, I would like to start with the early childhood gait, and I have a video here. I tried to put it in my presentation. I need to do that as well as present it. So as you see here, in the first video, it's kind of fast. The child has a wide stance with a short stride. They have high arm guard position. Let's see if I can play it again. And you can also notice some plantar flexion and there's slight knee flexion along with leg extension. They have a slightly wide stance. They still continue to have high arm guard. There's some hip abduction. I wish I could slow it down for you. On the pre-swing, you notice that there is less hip abduction. I can play it again for you. There's some external hip rotation, and they also have pronated feet. In the initial swing, there's increased pelvic rotation, and towards the late mid-swing and terminal swing, there's less hip abduction. Next, I'm going to continue on with the childhood gait. If I can go back here. Childhood, let's say like 3 to 4 year olds, you notice a difference. They get a little bit better with their like a wide stance, and they have a pre-run. They're not yet established with learning how to have balance and sway as they walk. They have a middle arm guard position, not so high like the early childhood. There's still going to be some plantar flexion in their feet. They have slight knee flexion as well as leg extension, and there's minimal flight with their walk. During their mid stance, it's very narrow, and their arms are a little lower at their side, so they have a bilateral arm swing. I'll put the video so you can see here. As you see, she has a narrow stance, and you see her speed walking, not so much balance in there. And she also, toddlers tend to walk on their tippy toes. I've always wondered what that's from, but it's just part of their development, their gait development. It's pretty interesting, the different levels of development in walking, and it's crazy. Like we're adults now, but we used to do this. Imagine if we would have knew to pay attention to the way that we walk and the way that it would develop. As you see, she goes to different locations of the room. Her walk style doesn't really change. Like she'll start tiptoeing as she starts to speed up her walk. Her arms are still swaying bilaterally with less hip abduction, and there's also a decrease in pelvic rotation. Alright, so we're going to skip that and go to the next one. Next, we're going to talk about adulthood. So adulthood, this is when we get into our walk. Pretty much we're in our walk. There's not really getting into it because we've had our early childhood development for gait as well as the childhood development for gait. Let's go back here. Adulthood. And in this video that we were given, it pretty much already lays out to us what we're looking for in the basic support, stride length, the arm swing, the initial contact and loading phase, the mid stance, terminal stance, pre-swing, initial swing, and late mid terminal swing. And this relaxed swayed walk. And everything flows smoothly. And you see the difference, the wide, their stance, well, not their stance, their stride length is longer. As we get older, we develop the balance and repetition of walking. And as you see with each stride, the length between the legs and the feet is pretty much the same. Compared to when we are children in the early development, we're not in control really of our joints and ligaments. We're just learning to get our bodies to walk. As you see, he starts with the back of his heel, goes to the base of his foot, and then rises off his tiptoe. So if this is the floor, that's our heel, rise up our tiptoe, walk, same thing. I can do it with my fingers. Like tip, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. I don't know if that's a good example, but let's move on to our older adulthood. Now, it's pretty interesting to me because I work with all different age groups of people. I work with children. Based off my presentation, I was paying attention to how she walked and compared to like my walking. So I'm gonna go to this video, and moves similarly to the lady in this video. As you see, when you get older, it's like our progress of walking kind of is because you start off as a child in a narrow stance, you have small strides, and as you develop, your stride becomes longer and more fluent, and then as you get older, you begin to go back into a narrow stance and your strides become short again. Your arm position is still kind of laterally at your side, but you still have your arms up a little higher opposed to like a young adult between ages like 20 to 40. I don't know if you can. Let's play that one more time. As you see, she has a short, narrow stance and a short stride. And in this video, it mentions how her balance has decreased over time. And that's what that they struggle with is their balance. And like I said before, it's kind of crazy how we're born into the world, we develop, we gain muscle strength, we gain patterns to walk, and then as life progresses and prolongs, our development starts to digress and decrease. And that's just how we develop to reach such high peaks, and then as life goes on, it's like we are just digressing back to where we started. Some theories and principles on gait and just human development. So I was researching and I had taken some psychology classes, and one of them, this is about Sigmund Freud. He was a big psychologist. He believed that personality develops during your early childhood, and that childhood experiences shape our personalities and behaviors as adults. And I like to agree with this. Just like I mentioned before, it's just crazy how life works. And when you're younger, you don't really pay attention to certain patterns of people, even yourself, to think of like how that's going to affect you in your adulthood. But when you come out into the world and you try to communicate with people and identify yourself with people, and you learn about their past childhood traumas or just experiences, you see the difference of people and just like how they interact with others, how they communicate, how they socialize, and just different categories like that. The psychosocial, which goes back to the psychosocial theory of development, this is from Eric Erikson. He thought that development theory emphasizes more on your social nature opposed to like your sexual nature, which brings back to what I said, like how you were raised up socially, that affects you in your whole life, like adulthood. If you were raised in a family where you guys didn't communicate as well, when you grow up as an adult, you have pretty challenging time communicating with people and just relationships and really anything in general, jobs, friendships, school. Communication is key, like to having a successful life. The last theory I'm going to talk about is the cognitive theory of development. John Paget he's another theory, and he studied childhood development. Um, and instead of him focusing on the psychoanalytical or the psychosocial perspective of it, he focused on children's cognitive growth, and he believed that thinking is a central aspect of development and that children are naturally inquisitive. The next thing I want to talk about are common gait abnormalities, as seen in older people as well as the early childhood. They sway. There's no sense of balance because, for one, when you're a child, your bones and muscles are developing, and then when you get older, your bones and muscles, the density of them are decreasing, and that is a common gait abnormality seen in those two different forms, those two different age groups. Um, Another abnormal function in older adults is, like I said, like their brain function. So them being able to connect their brain neurons to their muscles to move properly, that's also a common function seen in older adults and children. The last thing I want to talk about is the lower extremities. That's another common gait abnormality. Just ties back into brain function and muscle neuropathy because um, the brain, when you're a child, it's developing to help you use those muscles, connect them to the proper neurons so that everything's functioning correctly. And then same for like when you're an older adult, you have to work that much harder to have your brain connect to your muscles and have you walk properly to give you balance and strength. Some constraints having to do with gait is individual constraints, there's environment or tasks constraints, um, structural constraints, functional constraints, and environmental constraints, as well as task constraints. All of these tie-ins can either motivate you or inhibit you to have a successful life, have a healthy life, have healthy habits, and just be successful overall. Everyone is born into different environments, which, can affect you overall in life. But I believe that if you are raised in an environment with proper support and just love, then you will be more successful opposed to someone who lacks that in their early childhood. Um, so this is my presentation. I hope that you enjoyed listening about the different developments of gait and patterns, and I hope you have a great day.